What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former junior middleweight world champion superstar boxer Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison has a record of 29 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 21 big wins by way of knockout. He himself was knocked out 3 times in his career. He is 32 years of age, 6'1", with a 77-inch arm reach. He's scheduled to face off against Australian superstar title junior middleweight contender in Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is the son of a legend, Costa Tszyu. Tim Tszyu has 21 wins, no loss, no draw, 15 wins by way of knockout, 28 years of age, 5'8.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. They're going to face off against one another March 12th in Australia. Okay. So with that said, Tony Harrison, he also trains now undisputed featherweight world champion superstar boxer Alicia Bumgarner, the Bomb Bumgarner. Okay. And Tony Harrison, she went to an undisputed match last night, and Tony Harrison was in attendance, obviously as her trainer, and he was asked many questions. Obviously, the opportunity to fight Tim Tszyu. This fight was supposed to be Jamel Charlo versus um, Tim Tszyu. Jamel Charlo, January 28th, we were supposed to see Tim Tszyu versus Jamel Charlo, but Jamel Charlo broke his left hand, okay, which saw him removed from the fight. Jamel Charlo, he beat Tony Harrison via knockout, but he lost the first fight. So they fought twice. They won and won, okay? Jamel Charlo is the undisputed superstar junior middleweight world champion. And initially, like I said, Tim Tszyu was the mandatory, but Jamel Charlo injured his hand. And instead of Tim Tszyu waiting around, they replaced Tim Tszyu with, they replaced Jamel Charlo with Tony Harrison. Okay, so the winner, Jamel Charlo, is gonna have to fight, and Tony Harrison has been, looking to face off against Jamel Charlo in a rematch for quite some time. He's eager to get that fight. Okay, and so with that said, you know, uh, he says that it only makes sense to have a third fight with Jamel Charlo. Okay, Jamel Charlo, is 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6 feet tall with a 73-inch arm reach, right? Again, he beat Brian Castano via 10th round knockout victory, but he beat Tony Harrison back in 2019, December 2019, via 11th round knockout victory, and he lost to Tony Harrison back in December of 2018, right? And so that's a fight that Tony Harrison wants. And with that said, Tony Harrison, he was then asked about, you know, uh, uh, what he thinks about everybody else and the reports and rumors surrounding the junior middleweight division, including undefeated unified 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be top 2, if not number 1, definitely top 5 best pound for pound fighters in the world, and Errol the True Spence Jr., who has a record of 28 wins, no losses, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. He was asked about Jamel Charlo, about Errol Spence moving up to 154, his next fight, as is being reported, to face off against former unified WBC, WBO welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, who is 30 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 22 wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach. Errol Spence and Keith Thurman have nearly identical records. Errol Spence 28 wins, Keith Thurman with 30 wins. They both have 22 knockouts, right? The difference is Keith Thurman has lost, right? Lost to 8 division world champion Filipino iconic superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao. Uh, but their resumes is almost identical, right? 30 wins to 28 wins, both 22 knockouts, superstars in the sport. Uh, Errol Spence has to fight Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman has been made the WBC mandatory challenger for Errol Spence. Errol Spence, since he and Keith Thurman back in 2017, Keith Thurman unified the belts in 2017 against 2 division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia. Keith Thurman unified the belts against Danny Garcia March of 2017. Okay. Errol Spence won his first title May of 2017 against British superstar welterweight, then at the time IBF world champion Special K Kell Brook. in the UK. Okay, and Errol Spence, he stopped Kell Brook. Keith Thurman, he beat Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman then became the WBC, WBA welterweight champion. Errol Spence became the IBF champion. With that said, Errol Spence been calling for a fight with Keith Thurman since then, and it never materialized. And Errol Spence then got to the point where he stated he had no interest in fighting Keith Thurman. He was taking a stand. Don't want to fight Keith Thurman. And so, uh, you know, even the PBC Premier Boxing Champion, founder advisor Al Heyman, and the PBC as a whole, they put up a poll that said who wants to see Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. Errol Spence went on that poll and he said the PBC needs to take the L out of leather. He don't have no interest in fighting Keith Thurman. Well, now they found a way to make the mandatory Keith Thurman a mandatory challenger, and so now Errol Spence, he has to face Keith Thurman. So Errol Spence is being reported that they're going to fight at 154 with no belts on the line, but it's going to satisfy his mandatory, right? So the belts won't be on the line, right? So if Errol Spence wins, it'll satisfy his mandatory at 147. But if Keith Thurman wins, he wins nothing but bragging rights, okay? But it's reported to take place at 154. So Tony Harrison was asked about what he thinks about this, to which Tony Harrison, he says it's over for Errol Spence. Okay, he says, like I told you guys, I'm hard pressed to see Errol Spence go up to 154, come back down to 147, and challenge the undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Terrence Bud Crawford. I don't see it. That makes for the biggest fight, in my opinion, in the sport of boxing. But I don't see Errol Spence going to 154 and coming back down to 147 to challenge Terrence Crawford, right? And that's the fight everybody's clamoring to see. I just don't see it happening. I think that Errol Spence, after he stated, he's been at 147 for 10 years. It's not easy to make 147 pounds. When Danny Garcia most recently fought at 154, he said, I know that extra weight felt good, alluding to him can't wait to get to a division. The only reason he's hanging around is for the Terrence Crawford fight. He moves up to 154. His body get acclimated to going to 154. Errol Spence is not coming back down to 147. Okay, it's just not gonna happen. Okay, I just can't see him getting letting his body get acclimated to go into that division and then coming back down to fight at 47. I just can't see it.
That if he is going to fight Crawford, come back down to 47, do you think he's...
Oh, no, it's over. It's over. Once...
Oh, it's over.
Like that? Yes, it's over. My thing is, I think that's the hardest thing to take the body up to a weight, get used to it, and deplete it back down, to go back down. I think I don't think we'll see the same real Spence going back down.
And that if he is going to fight Crawford, come back down to 47, do you think he's...
Oh, no, it's over. It's over. Once you go up, it's over.
He just going to kill the phase?
Oh, it's over.
Like that?
Yes, it's over. My thing is, I think that's the hardest thing to take the body up to a weight, get used to it, and deplete it back down, to go back down. I think I don't think we'll see the same real Spence going back down.
So he said that if Errol Spence was to attempt to do that, I don't think we'll see the same version of Errol Spence. And this is exactly what I've been saying. If Errol Spence goes up to 140 to 154, after he's stated that it's hard, it's not easy to make 147, he goes to 154, he's letting his body get accustomed to that. His body going to feel refreshed. It's going to feel relieved. And then to tell the body to go back down to 147 where you was already struggling after you performed at 154, I just think that it's just not realistic for him to do. And you won't get the best version. This is what I've been saying. You're not going to get the best version of Errol Spence if that to be the case. So I think that Errol Spence should be going right into negotiations with Terrence Crawford. But now looks like Terrence Crawford could be signing with Golden Boy to fight Alexis Roca, Virgil Ortiz, and then look to fight Errol Spence. So I think that fight is going to happen now at 154. It may lose its luster because it's for all the marbles at 147. History. There's never been a 4 major sanction belt undisputed world champion at welterweight in the history of the sport of boxing. So history is on the line, as well as bragging rights and just the magnitude of the fight overall itself. Okay, and so with that said, I just think that I just think that It's unfortunate for the fans in the sport of boxing, and the fans ultimately lose out. And then he stated that he is going to be looking to he's looking to challenge Errol Spence should he make his way up to 147. I mean, excuse me, up to 154. It just don't make sense to me that Errol Spence fight Keith Thurman at 154. They both have fought at 154, but it just makes more sense for him to go ahead and fight Terrence Crawford now, negotiate the deal, fight him, and then the fight with Keith Thurman to still be there later on. But Tony Harrison said, no, it's over. Errol Spence move up to 154. He ain't going back down. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.